Very warm good morning, guys. In the last couple of classes, we have been thinking about structuralism and how structuralism works and functions in our everyday lives. And we also shared a video about uh, Ferdinand de Saussure and his ideas. Today, I am planning to introduce another theorist, another very significant theorist of the structuralist stream of thought. It's Claude Levi-Strauss. Before I start with Claude Levi-Strauss, I want to explain a kind of trend that happened in literary and cultural studies at a point in history. Do you think that English literature was a subject or a university course for a really long time? How long do you think English literature has been introduced as a course of study in universities and colleges? It has not been that much. It's actually as a part of the colonial process that literature was identified as a subject of formal education. That is, earlier when people were setting up colonies in other places, the mode of uh, connecting to the general public or instructing the general public there was through the teaching of religion. But in the case of many such places where the colonizers went, there already were very strictly bound religious beliefs and systems, and there needed to be a more democratic means of instruction which could actually uh, teach the natives that superiority of the British culture, the richness of the British culture. So religious texts on the one side were used a lot for instruction, but along with that there needed to be a more secular mode of instruction. So similarly, for this purpose, it was then English literature and many of the ideas of English literature were compiled so that it can actually communicate the rich cultural heritage and the linguistic richness and the kind of subtle nuances of British culture, so that the people in the colonized lands would understand or would have a feeling that it is a very superior culture, and the ideas and the ways of Britishers are in some way justified. So this is one reading of it. It may not be 100% agreeable to you, but this is one reading that people have come up with. So when English literature was actually introduced as a course, there was this concern: what do we teach? So stories and poems, of course, but the sciences were very popular then. The sciences were very popular. The objectivity of the sciences and the functionality of the sciences, and science was actually working magic during those times, because there were many inventions coming up which actually made people stuck with awe about the sciences. So in colleges also, in academic spaces also, there was so much rush for scientific subjects. So when literature or the arts and the humanities was not as passionately pursued during those phases, so because it did not have any concrete output as such for them, because the sciences were gaining so much popularity and they were giving out so much of concrete visible output. Many people were opting for the sciences rather than the arts. So probably it is in this context that a kind of scientificity was introduced into literary studies. Earlier it was humanist studies, where literary works were analyzed as probably vehicles of moral ideas, or questions of morality and questions of goodness, or such human qualities were mostly discussed in the context of literary works. But in the later phases, people realize the need to, in a way, make literature also somewhat objective. That is, in some way, make it a little bit similar to the sciences. So when structuralism was introduced, many theorists and thinkers actually found such a possibility in structuralism. Structuralism was actually reducing all these literary and cultural ideas into a very general framework, into a very well structured framework. That is, it was reducing the kind of diverse literary works and cultural ideas into what can be called some universal principles or some universal grammar. So this idea was actually adopted by the thinker Claude Levi-Strauss in analyzing culture. Claude Levi-Strauss is an anthropologist, but he used the structuralist ideas in order to come up with a different kind of approach to anthropology. It's called structuralist anthropology. So structuralist anthropology again is very similar to the ideas of Ferdinand de Saussure. What they do is they try to it's actually Claude Levi-Strauss who's the major propounder of structuralist anthropology. What structuralist anthropology does is to again reduce the complicated rituals and cultural ideas and mythology into certain general principles which may be said to be common to all people. That is, devising a kind of pattern or a kind of grammar or a kind of normative for every kind of cultural behavior or cultural happenings. Now, for example, the best example of is that of mythology from Claude Levi-Strauss's work, that he actually analyzes many mythological stories from diverse ranges of cultures, and he actually delineates certain universal patterns in mythology. That is, there is a universal structure in most of the mythological stories of different cultures. Like there is a hero who's a god or a demigod, and there is a heroine, and there is an affair, and then there is a villain, and then there is the assistant of the hero. So these are all general patterns in all kinds of mythological stories. And then there is a war or a conflict between the forces of good and evil. So there are the binary ideas of good and evil coming up. So similarly, the Mahabharata and the Odyssey and all the kinds of different mythologies can be reduced down to certain general patterns or general normatives or general structures, general universal human structures. The idea is that to show that despite being part of different cultures, there are many universal elements that assure that humanity is pretty much the same everywhere, despite the differences of cultures. So this is in a way a kind of egalitarian idea, but it was not received as from that aspect that much, but still this is a very significant idea. Now again, a central concept by Claude Levi-Strauss is that of the mytheme. The mytheme. Mytheme is like the smallest unit or a minimal unit of a kind of pattern. That is, now I said about the in any mythology, I said there is the conflict of good and evil represented by two regimes. So this can be actually seen as a mytheme because it's a small minimal unit which is there in many other which is comparable or similar to many other mythological stories. So this minimal unit or which can be traced down to be a bit universal or can be found in many other mythologies from different cultures. These recurring patterns or these recurring minimal small units are called mythemes. Mythemes. Okay. Now, going further, we will think. Look at some of our mythology and take up some of Western mythology. So Claude Levi-Strauss and his structuralist anthropologists, what they will do is they will find very similar patterns and eventually argue that there are universal ideas which is common to the human psyche or the common to the structure of the human psyche which actually made these similarities possible. So that's the kind of approach that the structuralist anthropologists, of whom Claude Levi-Strauss was a very significant figure, came up with. So do you understand how all these are very deeply interconnected? Now the discourse of colonialism and the introduction of English literature as a course in universities, and the shift from the humanist approach to literature to a rather objective method, and that too using the ideas of structuralism. So all these are very interconnected. It's not like English literature was always there as a course and it was always like this, but rather this is a kind of historical development of the subject which is discussed here. I hope that is very interesting to you, especially being students of English literature. So for the time being, we'll wind up today's class. Think about all these ideas, read up a bit about Claude Levi-Strauss and make some notes, because all these ideas that I tried to convey may be very quickly forgotten. So I want you to read up a bit deeply about Claude Levi-Strauss and structural anthropology so that you can write well in the exams also. Okay, so I'll see you in the next class, and all the very best for your abstract presentation. Okay, thank you.